Have you ever went into a room, a place, or around a person and things just look different? That they seem a little darker, not the hue that you remember from the beginning. And it's a concept that I like to call sunglasses effect, where it feels like around that person, around that place, in that room, like you're wearing sunglasses. Like the color is all tinted from what you remember it being in the before. And there's certain places that I would go, like I would sit in a parking lot and look at a store, and it just like all the colors, the signs on the building, the parking lot, all seem darker, a darker hue of the original color. I would go into conference rooms I always went into, and it just seemed like the furniture was a different, darker shade. All that tint was just not as bright as it used to be. And in more scientific terms, it's actually called a perceptual filter, which means your perception of the place has changed and filtered it out, just like all the social media filters and video filters that you can use. It filtered it into a different lens. So those colors are bright. Those colors have never changed. That material, that chair, that conference table, that parking lot, that building is still the same color, but your perception of it has changed. And that really opened my eyes to show how much our perception affects our daily lives, the stories we fill in about that person we just met, our opinions of that situation that we just witnessed, how one small interaction with someone can completely control how your brain, your neurological pathways, not only sees them, but deals with future interactions with them. Is this perceptual filter or the sunglasses that you're wearing for certain people, certain rooms, a big deal? In most cases, no. But in the big cases where it's draining your energy, where you don't want to go in the room, you don't want to see the person, you don't want to go back to the place, yes, that is a behavioral hold that you are having that is instantly draining your energy. See, you're going to have to go back to that room. You're going to have to deal with that person, and you're going to have to go to that store. So every time that you do and you see this darker tint, it does have effect, causing a complete chemical reaction in your body of your cortisol, your stress hormone. So that means when I go into that room that I see darker, I'm automatically having a triggered reaction biologically based on my perceptual filter. And so I am literally causing my own stress from not interrupting and rerouting the patterns of the past. And how we deal with these sunglass filters is understand the ones that do have a hold that you are having a physical reaction to, and the ones that don't. There are some things that just seem darker than they used to, and it's not a big deal. It's maybe I just got older and I have a different perception of the world or that place. But then there's ones that have a complete effect on me that I realize it used to be a bright place. It used to be a bright person for me. I used to get excited to go into that room, and now I don't. And those are the ones that you want to begin to shift the patterns, because you are draining your energy unintentionally every day. These are these little energy leaks that are happening. So I have a complete breakdown in a grocery store because my kids have been overwhelming. And then after that moment, every time I go to the grocery store, it has this filter, this darker filter, because of what happened there. I need to process that because it has nothing to do with the store. Maybe I had an interaction with someone and now I just see them differently. They look differently to me. Again, that's a behavior hold that I'm going to start doing conflict avoidance. I'm going to start avoiding them. I'm going to stop being on teams or in rooms with them. And that's an energy drainer to do all those workarounds in my daily life, where it's a leak here, a avoiding conversation there, and it begins to build into a stress monster. Same with rooms. There was a conference room that we had a majority of our meetings in, and there were some really not great meetings in there. There was meetings during my burnout collapse that I was trying to bring things up, and people were silencing me because we were so busy. And so that room began to look darker, a darker filter. Well, guess what? I still had to have meetings in that room. So I need to begin to release what that hold was, so that every time I had a meeting in that room, I wasn't just completely anxious or ready for the ball to drop or ready for my opinion to be squashed, because that was a day and a time that it happened, but it doesn't mean that it happens all the time. It wasn't a repeating type of action. So I was the only one carrying that weight. And when you begin to recognize those filters in which you don't need the sunglasses on, right? It's not a person, a place to carry that filter weight, to trigger all of your stress spidey senses. Then you realize I need to start to release that hold. Now this looks different for everyone, for every different scenario. Specifically for me, that room, I had to start realizing I am safe. The people in that room are different. That was a time and a place of stress for everyone, and everyone had a different reaction to it. And in doing so, I could start to release the sunglass effect. I could take off the filter and see it in the way that it should be. It's a room in which we have communication and meetings, and I have control over that. I have control of the energy I put into that, the energy I don't put into that, and then my new boundaries that I am setting. But sometimes we walk around with this perceptual filter, creating our own darkness in places that don't need it. That understanding and awareness of when the filter is okay, when to wear the sunglasses, and when the sunglasses need to come off, began to release those energy drainers, interrupt those old patterns that were feeding my burnout, feeding my stress cycles. Because every pattern that's driving our behavior is either feeding the energy or it's draining it.